Hello, everybody. Good morning. Good morning, Ted Tennis.
Good morning, Ken Davis.
How are you, buddy?
I'm very well. Thank you. How
Excellent.
are you?
Man, I'm good. I'm good. We both already knew that since we've been talking for the last 10 minutes, but it's always nice to exchange niceties in front of other people. So, guys, as we always do, first of all, thanks for joining us. I wanted to introduce Ted if you don't already know him. Ted and I have known each other for, golly, close to 10 years now.
Yep.
Yeah, if not more than that. And it's cool. Ted, we both have a long history of Hawaii, which is kind of apropos for our Venao conversation today. Ted, you were in Hawaii for how long?
I lived on Oahu in Honolulu for about 14 years before I moved here 11 years ago. So, yeah, it was quite a while.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's funny. We both know people who lived or are from Hawaii, and I'm wearing my Aloha shirt today in honor of our Venao conversation. And we know between us some people who have made the move from Hawaii to your area. So Ted, everybody, runs our Pedasi office, and Pedasi is about what 4.5 hours or so from Panama City.
Yeah, that's right. 4.5 hours driving.
Yeah. So Ted's been running that office for us for almost 10 years now. Originally a Michigander, well, still a Michigander, right? Once and always.
Got my Honolulu Lions blue on.
Attaboy. Cool. So Ted's the man. Ted has closed literally hundreds of real estate deals. And today we're going to be talking about Playa Venao. Just a little commercial quickly. Make sure to check out our YouTube channel because we've got a ton of videos now. We also always archive our Facebook Live videos. And if you're joining us, we love questions. So just fire them over whenever you can. Kevin, thank you for stopping in and saying hello. Good day to you as well. So, Ted, let's talk Playa Venao. And you had mentioned earlier before our call, you thought it might be a good idea for somebody, if they're watching this, to maybe open up a browser, try to just Google Playa Venao real quick to kind of put the location in context, huh?
I think so, absolutely. Especially if someone on this, someone's watching this out there that has never been to Playa Venao. Even if they've never been to Panama, it'd be a great idea to get some context. We can describe it all we want, but pictures and videos do speak 1,000 words. So what I would do is I would Google Playa Venao, Panama. That's Venao, and hit images and see what pops up, and you'll have a good idea of what we're talking about. Location-wise, Google Maps, be careful. There is a Playa Venado with a D closer to Panama City. So you got to be careful you're not looking at that. This is the one that's on the southeast corner of the Azuero Peninsula down by Pedasi, where of course our office is based.
Yeah, if you're just joining us, it's about a 4.5 hour drive to Pedasi, literally like two turns when you leave the city. And from Pedasi to Playa Venao is what, another half an hour to 45 minutes on.
Yeah, they're working on that road right now. The road has been paved for 15, 20 years, but it was in pretty bad shape. They're completely resurfacing the road between Pedasi, Playa Venao, and then even on to the next town over, which is Cañas, which then you can go the other way to Cañas through Macaracas and Tonosiwe, which also has already been paved. So basically, within the next few months, the entire national highway system in the Azuero Peninsula is going to be completely upgraded, practically brand new. There'll be a 4-lane divided road between Divisa, which comes off the Pan American, south into the peninsula to Las Tablas, and then from Las Tablas down through Pedasi, Playa Venao, and all the way back around. That's all 2-lane brand new road. And we've been driving on it. They're doing it in stages, so we've been able to experience some of it. It's fantastic. I think it's going to cut that drive time down a bit, but half an hour is a fairly good, guesstimate.
Yeah, because it's been a pretty gnarly drive. Every time I go down there from Pedasi to Venao, I mean, they'll go a little bit, and then you just get so many potholes. So that's going to be so nice when that's done, and in a good way, right? Like just repaved and not just patching.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's exciting. So okay, so maybe somebody's got a browser open and they're looking at a picture and it's a beautiful bay, really picturesque with mountains in the background. You got monkeys out there. You got tons of marine wildlife. What can we tell people that they just can't get a sense of with pictures? Maybe start with Ted, if you could tell us who's the kind of person that's going to even be into Playa Venao, like, and who's the kind of person, what would also sort of say, you know, maybe I should think twice about Playa Venao, if we could approach that.
Yeah, I think that's probably the best question we could try to answer today for folks. So Playa Venao is a surf beach, first and foremost. It's done a couple of international surf competitions recently. The ISA championships 2 years in a row were held there, the adult and then the junior. It's a great shore break. It breaks all year round. It's safe. It's a sandy bottom. It can get big and close out, but generally it doesn't. So it's really a good place to learn to surf, and for surfers of all levels, but especially beginner and intermediate. So people that are attracted to Venao are typically surfers. You've also got fishermen and women. The fishing in our whole area is fantastic. Playa Venao is no exception. There's embarkation or disembarkation points on either side in El Suelo and in Cañas, where you can get out into great fishing. And we're going to do another video here pretty soon on fishing. But so in terms of hobbies, what people like to do, Playa Venao appeals to people that are into the ocean, because you can pretty much do anything. The diving is good, the fishing is good, the surfing's fantastic. And also people that are into nature, because the hills and the valleys and the rivers around Playa Venao, as you mentioned, monkeys, there's birds, there's all sorts of wildlife, there's beautiful waterfalls that you can go explore and hiking. So for someone that's just a nature lover and wants a place that is sort of untouched still, that area, and I'm talking about all the way down the road towards Guanico and Cambutal. And again, if you're looking at a map with us, you'll see where I'm talking about. Otherwise, you can go back and look at it. But the whole area is just full of life, natural beauty, and so far at least, not a whole lot of people, which is the main draw versus Hawaii, for example, or California or Florida, or some of these other beautiful natural places that now have so many people. You go to the beach and it's wall-to-wall people. That's not going to happen live now.
Yeah, no, agreed, man. I mean, that's one of the things that's kind of nice about Panama in general, is there are very few beaches you go to and you'll see more than like 30 people. The whole Pacific coast for the most part. So, okay, so let's talk about people that, in one context, let's say you're thinking about a vacation, maybe even live in Panama, or you don't live in Panama, and okay, Playa Venao, maybe I want to go visit. What kind of facilities do you have? What can somebody expect just for a 1 week stay? You got restaurants?
Playa Venao is amazing. I mean, it really has changed. If you would have asked me that 5 years ago, or especially 10 years ago when I moved here, you would have gotten a very different answer. But today, Playa Venao is rocking. I mean, you've got 20 restaurants. There's probably a dozen hotels. There's some projects, including some of the ones that we sell their inventory. Beach condos, beach houses, mountain houses. Venao, if you're looking at it on a map or in images, you'll see that it's a bay, right? And the bay is maybe about 2.5 miles, about 4 kilometers across. And it's a sandy bay. It's got points on either end. And the whole bay now has various different, areas that have been developed. Great restaurants, great food scene down there. A lot of fun in the evenings. It's gotten really popular among families. I mean, right now, because of the pandemic, we don't have any tourists per se, but people from Panama City, believe me, they came out of the city and they came down to Playa Venao to live out the pandemic, because it's so much freer down there in terms of just, low density of people and nature.
Yeah.
And I go down there and I see these folks, they're having a ball. They don't want to leave. Once the pandemic chills out, they might stay. Because, there's like at any given day at Blue, for example, which is one of the projects down there, there's 20 kids running around by the pool, and they're having a great time. So if you came for a week, there's all sorts of activities you could do. Isla Cañas is right there with turtle watching. At this time of year, you've also got whale watching. Both of those are seasonal, of course. Whale watching is between about June, July to the end of the year. Turtles are either September or November, basically, depending on whether you want to see them be laid or hatch. And fishing year-round, surfing year-round, diving year-round, and exploring is super fun too.
Yeah, no, I mean, outdoor stuff, restaurants, hotels, you kind of got a lot going on. It's in a concentrated area too. I mean, you're parked up on Playa Venao and you can walk to most of the restaurants. It's very typical Panamanian style development. You know, if you've ever been to Costa Rica or anywhere else in Central America, it's a bit, as they say, improvisado, a little bit improvised in terms of like little sort of things that just appear to have popped up out of the ground, and now they're selling like shawarma.
Right.
Yeah, but it works because you get that hostile crowd, not hostile, but you know, the traveler backpackers. Yeah, and then you get on the other side of the beach, beautiful resort, you know, swimming pool, little cabanas around. You can get like a house for the night for, you know, what, a couple $100. High season, maybe more, $500-600 a night for a villa, but that's a really nice villa. So, okay, cool. What about people that choose to live in Playa Venao? I mean, obviously they're going to be outdoorsy. Probably they'll keep a garden. Maybe, yeah. How often do they have to go into a town like Pedasi or wherever? I mean, what do you not have there?
So Playa Venao is growing. There's a gas station that's about to open, which will be a huge hit because there has not been one. And the nearest major town is actually, there's two. There's Tonosí and Pedasi that are about equidistant.
Yep.
So you could go either way, to go to a bank, to go shopping in a bigger grocery store, to get, you know, a hardware store. All that's coming though to Playa Venao. Probably in the next couple of years, they'll have a bigger footprint as far as commercial operations that are not directly tourist related.
Right.
So, but for now, and up until now, the folks that gravitate towards actually living in Playa Venao are just the ones that are super low maintenance, right? They're not the folks that need to get their nails done all the time. They're not the folks that need to go shopping all the time. They really want to be there and enjoy the outdoors. And at night, they're hanging out with their friends or their family. And they go up maybe to Pedasi once a week, twice a week, or to Las Tablas, or to Chitre, which are all an easy day drive to get in and out of. And in those two cities, you've got everything you need practically. You know, in the entire world, we almost never need to go anywhere else. We've got everything.
You guys have a Price Mart in Chitre?
Price Mart Santiago, which is just outside the Azuero. It's about a 2-hour drive. But sure. Chitre has all the other big boxes, including Arriba Smith, which is probably arguably Panama's best grocery store in terms of selection and high-end products. There's kind of a little mini Costco ripoff in Chitre as well. But if you want to go to Price Mart, which for those that don't know, that is basically Kirkland. That's kind of our Costco down here in Panama. Santiago is the closest.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I mean, you know, Venao it's got its charm. There are definitely people that have been down there for years. And guys, if you're just joining us, we've got Ted Tennis, who runs our office in Pedasi, and we're talking Venao, which is about a 30-minute drive, soon to be cut to 28 minutes by the new road. 28 minutes and less investing in the suspension of your vehicle over the years. So yeah, I mean, Venao, man. Well, let's talk real estate for a second. You've got and Ted's closing deals in Venao. So where have the buyers come from? Just to paint a picture of the community there. And then talk to us a little bit about prices.
The buyers are really demographically sort of diverse. We've got folks from Europe, from North America, from South America, Israel. And by the way, I should mention Shana Tova to all of our Jewish and Hebrew friends out there. Happy New Year.
Jewish New Year today.
Jewish New Year today, yeah.
Shana Tova.
Shana Tova, everybody. We've got a lot of Panamanians, right? I mean, especially now, it's interesting. COVID has obviously put the kibosh on real estate in general because people just can't get down to look at stuff. So we've got a huge pipeline right now of people that have seen our advertising and are interested and want to come down. Now that the country's opening up next month, we're going to start seeing more people. It's going to be great.
Yeah.
Yeah, but in the meantime, the Panamanians that are in the area and some of the locals have been buying in Venao. They're able to get down and see everything and make purchase decisions based on that. But I would say, Ken, in general, it's a mix. It tends to skew younger as far as the buyers go than Pedasi does.
Yeah.
And I think the main reason for that is Pedasi really attracts more of a retiree population. It's folks that want to settle down. Playa Venao historically has been all about outdoor activities and less about built-in amenities. That's changing. As we've already talked about, that's changing rapidly. It's getting to the point where pretty soon I think it'll be rivaling Pedasi in terms of options to go shopping and get things serviced and things like that. But in the meantime, so far it's really just been a beach resort. And some folks are totally down with living at a beach resort, but other folks, they want a little bit more structure, a little bit more amenities and infrastructure around them. And so Venao has been for these guys or gals that are in their 30s, their 40s. They're taking a sabbatical, or maybe they're really going to live there forever. We'll see. Folks that can work online.
Yeah. So internet's good down there?
Internet's surprisingly good. It's not uniformly good. In other words, you have to pick your spots for internet. Some places have better than others, even within Venao. But yeah, when ESPN broadcast the ISA Championships 6-7 years ago, even, they brought down fiber optic. They, being one of the hotel owners, actually paid for it and brought it down as part of that television deal. And so some of the places on the beach have had fiber optic, super high-speed internet for years, even faster than Pedasi because they bypassed us. Thanks. Now we have fiber optic too in Pedasi. We're getting up to 500 megabit download speeds in Pedasi in places too. But in this whole area, it's really sort of, you have to ask, okay, what about this house? How's the internet at that project? Yeah, that's one of the things I'm always answering for folks, because there are so many people that are saying, look, I want to stay there 3 months a year when it's cold back home, or I want to be there year round, but I need to be able to work. I need to be able to do stuff like this. So I can't afford to be in a place with spotty internet, spotty power, the whole 9 yards. And the good news is that you can be in Venao and have great internet speed.
Cool. Yeah. And that brings a lot of folks who can work anywhere. Sorry?
I'm agreeing. More and more people are in that sort of wheelhouse of, I can work anywhere. I want someplace cheap, someplace nice, someplace cool with a good vibe. And Venao is one of those places. I mean, you mentioned Hawaii, and we both have that Hawaii tie, Kent. Venao is one of those magical places. People go there and they're blown away by it. Me included, I've spent dawn patrol
right now
in the ocean. Venao, the Bay of Venao has an island that you can't go to. It's a big sort of it's almost attached to the shore on the east side of the bay, but it protects that part of the beach. So you can go out there and there's no waves almost, right? Almost never. The swell has to really be strange to get any kind of wave action. So it's very safe. It's very calm. You can wade out in that section, a couple 100 meters out in the ocean and still only be waist high or chest high. I've been out there at dawn with just glorious sunrise and dolphins swimming around me, pelicans dive bombing sardine schools around me. And it's just, you're like, oh my God, what crystal clear water. And you're like, this is unbelievable. And by the way, you and potentially your family and friends are like the only ones in the water at all. It's
magical.
Yeah.
No, yeah, man. And those days happen more often than not.
Yep.
Weather in general, I mean, we're tropics. So is there much variance year round in Playa Venao?
Yeah, certainly temperature wise, no. Right, we're at 7 degrees latitude. We're firmly in the tropics in Panama. The temperature doesn't change much. Panama, of course, has the dry and the wet seasons. And for those of you that don't know, the dry season starts in mid-December, generally goes through about mid-May. And then the wet season, mid-May to mid-December, 2 seasons. And in our area, Pedasi and Playa Venao, we're still within what is considered to be, or what is called the Arco Seco, or the dry arc and the dry arch, which is the driest part of the country, just because of the topography of the country and the tree population, or lack thereof. So we get a very dry climate in the dry season. It literally may not rain at all for 5 months.
Crazy.
And at that time of year, we get trade winds, northerly. And so, again, counterintuitively, the Pacific Ocean, which is where we're all located, which is what we're talking about, is south in Panama. because Costa Rica's to the west, Colombia's to the east. If you look at a map of Central America, it sort of evens out in Panama at the isthmus. And so we get the Caribbeans to the north, the Pacifics to the south. This is important because in the dry season, when we're getting these northerly winds, the entire south shore of the Azuero Peninsula, which is where we are, is protected, right? So it's in the lee of the continent. You're getting these beautiful days. The wind can get strong enough to create white caps and stuff, but there's many, many days where it's blowing. The waves are perfect. You know, that's what surfers wanted, these offshore winds. And it's just gorgeous, as opposed to the Pedasi beaches, because we're on the east side of the peninsula. We're all on the corner, but we're on the east. So if you go to like Playa Arenal, El Toro, some of these east-facing beaches, you get a side shore wind in the winter. It kicks up more chop. You get a little bit more brown in the water. So it's different. And frankly, in the dry season, which, by the way, coincides with winter in the Northern Hemisphere, when a lot of people want to be here, Venao is absolutely gorgeous, and it feels a little cooler at night because there's less humidity. You get the breeze. It's really nice.
How about that for good timing? You know, like November to March starts getting cold up north and out in Europe, and voila, in come the offshore winds and the cooler nights. God favors Panama.
Hey, that's why you'll see pictures of our area, especially Pedasi and Playa Venao, where you'll see two pictures of the same spot. One is lush green, looks like the jungle, you know, that you're used to seeing, and one is dry, looks like California in the summer. It doesn't look like the same place, but it is, right? And I actually like the wet season because everything is so beautiful and green and lush, and it's just really pretty. Yeah.
Well, Ruben's got a question. Ruben, thanks for joining us. Keeping us on topic. Good man. Home prices. Ted, so you touched on this a little bit, but let's expand. So somebody comes down to Venao. What are their options? They can either, what can they do? What are they going to spend to buy a property?
Right. So basically, I think we break Playa Venao pricing down into three different distinct areas. Okay. One is going to be Venao beachfront, which is within the bay on the beach. And to do that, you're really going to be buying from a developer typically. You're going to be buying into one of the condo or housing projects. Condos are going to start in the sort of probably low to mid $200,000 range and really go up from there. You know, the project I mentioned, Blue, for example, which I really like, is their one bedroom standalone homes are going to be somewhere in the mid to high twos. Their condos also starting, 2-bedroom condos starting with that. And then they've got homes on the beach, which I believe they're sold out of. They're almost sold out, by the way, unfortunately for us. Good for them. But you know, more than $1 million for like a beach house in that project. You can buy other projects as well. And then in the hills around Venao, which I personally think are great because you get these beautiful views. You're up off the beach. You get a little bit more breeze. You get a little bit, you know, just a touch cooler, but really what you're enjoying is this dramatic view oftentimes of the bay itself or of parts of it.
And 5 minutes to the ocean.
Yeah, I mean, we've got a 3-bedroom house up there for sale right now for $295. You know, if not for COVID, we would have sold it already many months ago. I honestly believe. You know, once that goes, you're probably looking at $400,000 or $500,000 barrier to entry for a finished home. But you can also buy lots and have them built and still get in at that type of price point, $300,000-400,000 to have a really nice house with that kind of killer view. You know, something that in California would be a couple $1 million, you're going to get for maybe $500,000 here.
Yeah, that's interesting. I love it. And you know, we've done that. We've walked clients through that whole process. Ted being the expert, Ted. So I go up to Venao. I find a lot I want to get. I buy the lot, and then I work with the developer to build a house for me. How long is that going to take before I get the keys to my property, assuming I'm, you know, answering the developer and sending the money and just doing what I'm supposed to do on my end as a buyer?
A good rule of thumb would be maybe 12 months. It really varies. It depends upon how fast you get your ducks in a row in terms of taking ownership of the property. If you're buying land and building, I'm talking about, you know, it's rare that a developer is going to build you a house. It does happen. There are some that are doing that. Other times what you do is you just buy the land, you know, or the lot from a developer, and then you bring in your own construction. And there are builders in the area that we've vetted that have great reputations that can help you do this. and they'll build you the house. And then it's just a matter of how long does it take you to get your architectural plan designed and approved and then build. So from the time they break ground, most guys will finish your house well within a year, but they might put a year on the contract to be safe, even 14 months.
Sure. And then average build cost for like a pretty, a nice place, granite countertops, good kitchen cabinets, nice floors, high ceilings, get that nice breeze, some good windows.
Yeah.
Approx, what's somebody going to pay on a per square foot and per meter? Just a range. Give us a range, because I know it depends on so much.
It depends on so many factors. I would say on the lower end, about $80 a foot. On the higher end, about $150 a foot. And I realize that's a massive range. So maybe to be safe, say about $1,200, $1,300, $120 to $130 per square foot, which, about $120, $1,200 a meter, which is how we measure down here, will get you a nice house. So to put that in context, maybe you build a 1,500 square foot, 2 or 3 bedroom home, and it costs you between maybe 150 to 200 grand by the time you're all done, depending upon your finishes, your design, and ultimately, you can spend 100 grand on a kitchen. We all know that. So it comes down to the finishes more than anything.
And that particular plot, let's say it's 1,000 meters up in a gated community with no amenities, because maybe you're on a hillside, so you're not going to have like a shared pool, although you'll probably have your own pool. What would you pay for that kind of lot, Ted, for the land below you?
I'm glad you asked, Kent. We have such a range, again, in land, and you get what you pay for. And so, I would say, as a rule of thumb, you should expect to pay around these days somewhere around $80 to $100 per square meter, and you can even pay more than that and still be getting a good deal. And what I mean by that is, what I always tell my hillside buyers, and I don't want to go too far down this rabbit hole, but I think it's important when people are searching prices on the internet, for example, and you're seeing lots, whether it's in Playa Venao, Pedasi, or anywhere else, when you're buying with a view, what matters is not so much how much you're paying per square foot.
And we went on for a second. Go back to that thought. When you're looking at land, don't necessarily focus exclusively on the per square meter or per square foot price.
Yeah, you can do that on flat land better. It's a better comparison. But when you're talking about hillside land, the question really becomes, within that particular piece of land, how much of it is usable? How much of it is flat? How much am I going to be able to take advantage of? You might have a piece of land that's 2 acres and one that's 1/4 acre, and they're the same price, and you're thinking, well, 2 acres, way better deal. But actually, the 1/4 acre has a better view, less neighbors, easier access, better infrastructure, is completely usable, whereas that 2 acres has a tiny little build pad. The rest of it's jungle slope. It's off track. It's not the right view. And so the smaller one is a better deal. If you're comparing just based on price per size, it's not really useful when you're talking specifically about stuff up in the hills.
Yeah, no, it makes total sense. And guys, I mean, listen to this guy. This is an expert here who's done this. I mean, Ted is, probably one of the larger farmers in the area too, with his cattle, and he's got land. And I mean, he's been in the battle on the buy side, on the sell side, on the ownership side. He's advised developers about what to do and what they shouldn't do. We've advised them as a company. So yeah, I mean, if you want an expert on real estate in Panama, you got him with Ted Tennis. So Ted Hilberto, thank you for your question. And sorry to leave you hanging on the answer. So Ted, I don't know if you can see that. Yes, Venao, man. I mean, golly, especially during a pandemic, we're all chomping at the bit to get back down there. Ted's lucky it's right at his doorstep. Restaurants we kind of already touched on a little bit earlier, but rehashing that, Ted, I mean, for lunch, you could pay as little as or as much as in Venao, and same question for dinner.
So the restaurants are doing, still takeout and everything. Los Santos was just able to open up for in-restaurant dining, but in a very limited way. But the simple answer to that question about restaurants is that Playa Venao has a surprising variety. Aloha. Surprising variety of restaurants. There's almost anything you could want down there at this point. And when things open up again, there's a food court that was just done with a taco stand and a shawarma stand and things like that. And but that place isn't open anymore because of COVID. So once things sort of settle down and people are able to come, a lot of those places will reopen. And even now, during the pandemic, there's a dozen different options. So there's plenty of different food options. Healthcare is a little trickier, to be honest, Gilberto. We've got a Minsa Kapsi hospital in Pedasi. That was finished about 3 years ago. And it's got 24-hour, may never be fully finished in staff, but it's open and it has 24-hour urgent care. That's a half an hour away. Okay. If you needed faster care, there is a little medical clinic in the town of Cañas, which is about 8 minutes from Playa Venao. But again, that would be really if it's just a very minor thing. Most folks would probably choose to go up to Pedasi. If you have some sort of chronic issue or if you have an issue that you can wait, you could make an appointment. There are doctors, including doctors who speak English, who will do house calls in Playa Venao. And
usually bring their surfboards.
Probably.
Yeah. No, good question, Gilberto. Thank you for that. We're lucky to have been down there, but yeah, the idea is to give folks as much of a sense as possible about Playa Venao. I mean, golly, any other questions? Ted, what else have we not touched on?
Well, getting here, okay, so somebody wants to book a trip and they're interested in going to check out Playa Venao. What's kept Playa Venao off people's radar has been access because, lack of infrastructure in general. For many, many, many years, there wasn't even power down there. Power has only been down to that area and a paved road for less than 20 years, right, roughly. So it really wasn't on anybody's radar except some hardcore surfer types that would come down there and spend 10 hours to get there from the city and camp on the beach and hit all those waves by themselves. So it's really just been recently that Venao started to develop. And we're still a little bit limited as far as access because people have to drive 4.5, 5 hours from the city to get there. It's a long drive. It's on great roads now.
Easy drive, yeah.
And it's easy because Panama has terrible signage on the roads, but now with Waze and Google Maps, you don't need it anymore. So it's driving around Panama in general has gotten so much easier, right, Kent, in the last few years with GPS technology. But once you're down there, it's good to go. You're good to go. I mean, you've got a little supermarket there that's overpriced because it's kind of a captive audience. But you can stop at any of these stores in Chitre, Las Tablas, or Pedasi on the way. You stock up for the amount of time you're going to be there. You fill the fridge. If you're staying in a hotel, you have tons of great restaurant options. So, for folks that want to come visit, I would just encourage them to understand it's a longer drive, enjoy the drive. It's a nice drive. And once you're down there, don't try to get down there, spend the night, boom, 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 and get out. Spend a few days.
Right on. No, good advice. And yeah, Mark, thank you for putting in this question. We'll probably be wrapping up after this unless we get any other questions. We missed those flights, man, from Albrook to Pedasi. Woof, those were awesome. Ted's good friends with some folks in the tourism authority. So Ted, and so is Gilberto for that matter. Gilberto knows everybody. What do you think? I mean, what's the bonchinche? What's the rumor? Have we heard that might happen? Like, it's too early to tell.
So to Mark, thanks for the question, Mark, and good to see you. The thing about those flights has always been they're not profitable for the companies. So, when you're doing these little 12-seater planes and you're doing them 3 days a week, which is what Pedasi has been able to accomplish in the past, they need to be full, like literally almost full, every seat taken, every single flight back and forth before the company, it's really worth it to their bottom line. So what you've got is a loss leader, basically, that the tourism authority or the developers need to subsidize or incentivize in order for the companies, the air providers, in this case, Air Panama, to want to even do it. Okay. And so even if they announce that they're going to do it, even if they do it for a while, there's no guarantee that it's going to continue. I'm just keeping it real. I've been here 10 years. They've started and stopped these flights 3 times already.
Yeah.
And they're expensive, relatively speaking. They were charging over $100 each way for a lot of that time. People don't want to spend that kind of money. You got a family of 4, you're getting killed. It's cheaper to rent a car and drive or to,
totally.
rent a car. Now, with that being said, there are flights twice a day into Chitre. So you could fly to Chitre, you could rent a car there, or have somebody pick you up, as the case may be, or take a taxi, and you can be in Pedasi in an hour, or Playa Venao in an hour and a half. So you'll cut off about 3.5 hours of that drive. So people do that, and those flights are more frequent. It's a bigger plane. You can carry a bigger bag, you know, and they're cheaper.
Good stuff, man. Yeah, no, good insight, and we'll keep everybody posted as if those subsidies kick in and they get that going again. Jonathan Clay, good question. So Jonathan's question is, how can we compare some differences between Cañas and Playa Venao?
So just to let everybody know, Cañas is about 8 or 10 minutes west of Playa Venao. There's a community that's on the coast, and then there's a huge island. It's about a 10-mile long island that goes along the coastline. That is a true island. It's not connected to the land. It's kind of long and thin. It's about 16 kilometers, 10 miles long. So when people talk about Cañas, they're either referring to the island or they're talking about the mainland. The island doesn't have any really titled property. A lot of it's a marine refuge and a natural refuge. There are people that own rights of possession out there, and it's a beautiful island to explore. Again, if you're into watching the turtles and things, it's definitely a magical thing to go do that. That is a great place to go turtle egg watching, that kind of thing, in the right season, which, as I said earlier, is September through November. And then you have the town of Cañas, and then you've got a couple of developers, 4 or 5 off the top of my head, that have done sort of projects around in the hills and in the valleys around Cañas. Okay, people like AMF Capital and Deco has a project out there, and Freddie Lacoste has a store out there, and some others. And Cañas del Sol is another one. And they're selling, you know, the draw for that for folks is the price. It's a beautiful area. It's green, it's lush, it's gorgeous, beautiful hills, waterfalls, there's a river. And
probably
you can do
one of the most, sorry to interrupt, but when you're driving from Playa Venao to Cañas, you have to cross sort of a last little ridge. And once you get to the top of that ridge, it's got one of the most beautiful and expansive views I've ever seen in all of Panama, which is Cañas down to your left, which I guess would sort of be like the south, I don't know, southeast or southwest. You're looking west, basically, right? Pardon if I'm oriented wrong, but it's an amazing view.
Yeah.
Reminds me a lot of Hawaii, actually, because it's the mountains are quite close to the ocean, so you just get this sweeping valley with Isla Cañas, which is this turtle refuge, and it's absolutely gorgeous. And we've sold a lot of land on that side with those exact views. Little plots, you know, and I think one of those developments now has power and like some roads, right?
That's right. Yeah. So the land between Venao and Cañas didn't have power historically, and then now they've brought the power poles in. The lines are in. They haven't charged them yet, but it's just a matter of time now that they'll do it. The infrastructure's in, and it's beautiful. And again, the value for people in Cañas versus Venao is some folks don't want to be right on the beach. They don't want to be right in the scene. They might prefer to be in the hills, but they might be priced out of the Venao hills because those lots have gotten more expensive. Whereas Cañas, you might get the same kind of view, roughly the same sort of characteristics for maybe half the price. So you get that, and then you're driving to the beach in 10 minutes anyway. And there's also a boat ramp in Cañas, and it's protected. It's in the lee of that island, so it's a year-round, easy access for somebody to trailer a boat in. So fishermen actually really like Cañas because it gives them a way to get out to Isla Frailes, or it gives them a way to get out to Bucaro and Morro Puerco and some of these amazing fisheries in the area. They're even closer to those than they would be from Pedasi or some of these other places. So yeah, good question. Cañas is absolutely on the radar, and it's growing as well. There's a school out there now, international school.
Yeah.
So even folks from Venao are taking their kids to Cañas to take them to school.
Love it. It's happening. Cool. Yeah. Well, Ted, I don't want to be on here for too long, and looks like the questions have sort of trickled off a little bit. Thank you guys for joining us. And Ted, man, it's always great to get your knowledge dropped on the internet. So thank you for that. Again, you are looking at the expert right there with Ted Tennis. So that whole area is Pedasi, Playa Venao, Suero Peninsula. We do a lot of business down there, and it's a place you got to see to believe. So, yeah, thanks, everybody. Happy Aloha Friday. And we will see you next week.
Thanks, Ken. Thanks to everybody. Have a great day.
Ciao.